That's right back, Charlie. Definitely.
Because you always use that active when defenders are being given like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man. Come on.
Thank you very much for that, Ian. Right, I can take it from here. People deluded, I'm back again. First things first, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in some cases, good night. I hope you're doing well and safe. I hope you're blessed. With it being Wednesday and the halfway point of the week, I hope this week has been great to you lot in your personal and private lives. Hope you and your loved ones are in good health. And as usual, very appreciative of the support you lot give the platform, people. I appreciate everything you lot do, whether you follow on Twitch, YouTube, the social medias, you know, whether you comment, you just listen, whatever you're doing. On that note, please make sure your notifications are on. You're checking out my other videos in the YouTube playlist. You're commenting and you're subscribing, people. So, yeah, man, obviously, it's the 18th of January. I think many of us Arsenal fans would have preferred to have had a player or two in, but it is what it is. You know, I'm getting a lot of stick. Why? On one of my videos saying give Edu time. I'm not saying give a man time for no reason. Obviously, if we don't sign someone, you have to face the music. But it's still there's not that much time in the market, but there's still a lot of time in the market. I don't know if Arsenal have legitimate contingency plans. I don't know if they'll get things over the line, but I do think Arsenal have to be given that luxury, as frustrating as it is, as nervy as it is, as angry as it might make some Arsenal fans, because we saw last January what letting certain players go and not bringing in certain players in do. And vaguely, we've seen this season as well, even games that we've won. There's been some times where we've won games and I thought, you know what, maybe if we had a striker that's a bit of a different thing to Eddie Nketiah and Jesus, we could knock it into his chest. Against Newcastle, you was hoping, I'm not even going to say my man's name, but you would have loved to have had a winger to come off the bench and fresh legs and things like that. Because as great as Saka and Martinelli are, and as consistent as they have been, and everyone sharing the goals, I still think we need that push, man. Obviously, because of Gabriel Jesus' injury and the need, you know, to bring in another attacker, it seems a bit like, you know, striker and winger are the sort of things we're linked with. I still think we need to address centre mid. Personally, I think we won't do that this window. I think we're prepared to wait, you know, kind of gambling on the fitness of several players and the contingency plan of maybe Odegaard, Fabio Vieira, Zinchenko, and Smith Rowe playing in, you know, midfield and tweaking it a bit. I think it's a winger and done, really. I would like a centre mid. I would like a winger. I would like a striker. I would like another centre back to challenge the great options we have here. And I think we've got to keep one eye open where right back is concerned. Pardon me, sorry, folks. I'm a bit under the weather. The show must go on. Drinking enough ginger and them things there. Shout out to my niece, but you gave me a cold and it's really been knocking bells out of the guy, really and truly. So let me share my screen with you lot and let's see what's going on in the world of Arsenal, or what, you know, the tabloids are saying. This is completely irrelevant, people. And I know his statistics are not really the best at Dortmund, but it made me think, and they're probably going to lose Makoko, so it's a myth. But everybody that follows my channel knows I'm a big fan of Kareem Adeyemi. I do think he's going to be a star in the future. Obviously, he's been capped by Germany. I think Dortmund won't let him go in January, but it did make me think, if you've got whatever odd quid to spend on Mudryk, could we do this? Because I think he slots in up front, slots in off the left or the right, 21 years of age. It's never going to happen. There's no links to him. But I mean, for me, that is something I would flirt with. Obviously, it's peak for him right now in the Bundesliga, where they ain't been playing for a sec. He's not scored in the 11. It's looking quite rubbed. But when I saw this player from a footballing point of view, I fell in love with him. I think he's got that stardust, really, but we're not going to grab him. Again, moving with the Athletic. Again, you know, shout out to the Athletic and everyone. They're still milking this Mudryk stuff. I don't really care for this article, but I was reading it, people. I was reading it past a certain period, so I thought I might as well just go over it briefly with you lot. For a period of time, Arsenal accepted there were certain players, certain clubs, certain agents that would necessitate walking away. But recently, they've got their act together to become more competitive and ambitious in the market. Some excellent work there has been underpinned in their run to a current position as Premier League pacesetters. Apart from the immediate disappointment at missing out on major January 2023 transfer target Mudryk, this also needs looking at through a wider lens. It is a painful reminder that doing what they think is reasonable and methodical is not enough if a club with Chelsea's deep pockets directly negotiating attitude suddenly rock up and feel in the mood for a new toy. Fair enough. Arsenal were confident they would recruit both João Felix from Atletico Madrid on loan and Mudryk from Shakhtar. See why I don't like, even today you're seeing Arsenal are confident that they'll get Declan Rice and things. I don't like this confident thing. I like eyes dotted and T's crossed. They knew both players wanted to come to the Emirates Stadium. They also know both Atletico and Shakhtar sent bonkers fees given the positions of the deal in question, but they were more hopeful common sense would prevail and some financial middle ground could be found, which wasn't. Just as Arsenal were starting to regenerate faith in their transfer approach, this stumble, being tripped up by a London rival, is destabilising in both cases. Chelsea were prepared to go bolder than Arsenal in both cases. It has suited Chelsea to weaken Arsenal while securing those deals, people. Removing all of that. The increasingly intense competition around the transfer market is tremendously difficult to navigate. More money, more billionaires, more nation states, more intermediaries wanting a part in deals. Considering how most emerging and existing talents are well known across the world of elite football, it's a rarity to spring a deal from nowhere and have a free run without competition. Arsenal now have to regroup, thinking short term about new targets and longer term about how to combat rivals who could be interested in players they crave. They're already working relentlessly to arrange at least one incoming deal to meet their January requirement to strengthen from the top. They do have a fine record of flourishing with second choices. What could have been David Raya, Jules Koundé, Lissandro Martinez, Dusan Vlahovic, and now Aaron Ramsdale, Ben White, Zinchenko, and Gabriel Jesus. No complaints there. The mission to find similarly successful alternatives to Mudryk and or Felix is on, with time running out. So, yeah, we'll have to see exactly what's going on in that regards, people. Really, shout out all of that waffle. But Arsenal know exactly what is at stake. They are not so foolish as to ignore the lesson of a year ago when their original targets for January boost came to nothing. There's too much at stake to gamble with the light squad they currently have. When all their efforts over Mudryk came to nothing, Arteta might have felt a prank of something akin to Wenger's sentiments in the first age of financial doping. For all the best intentions to carefully establish plans, the realization that you can't necessarily compete sensibly in a world of transfer insanity is tough to take. Arsenal have never been a club for auctions, and there are no indicators that policy is about to change. And that's true, that is true. But what I would say, if we can't, whether we have money or not, we're not going to do what Chelsea's doing or certain other clubs are going to do. So can you move for these, the first sort of emergence where Vlahovic is concerned? Could you have went for him there? When we didn't get Mudryk in the summer, could we have, got negotiations that much faster so that literally when January the 1st opened, we've seen in some cases, that's our player, where that, I can't say his name, but KK of Napoli that we've been linked with, as unrealistic as that is, could we have signed him when we had him at Ruben Kazan? There's always a way around it, really. Yes, it's frustrating to take, but this happens. Other targets get finesse. We get finesse for targets. We're just going to have to get on with it. We either throw our money at it or we try and find these targets before it happens. Clearly, our sort of system and what we're doing somewhat half works. People tried to come in for Gabriel Jesus. He wanted Arsenal. We're moving in it, kind of what we tried to do with Mudryk. It did not happen in that regard. So we'll have to see how that one there develops. Where Moussa Diaby is concerned, Arsenal make contact with Bayern Leverkusen over possible transfer for France winger. Arsenal make contact with Bayern Leverkusen over France international winger Moussa Diaby after missing out on Mudryk to Chelsea. The Gunners are also keeping tabs on Rafinha, though the Brazilian is unlikely to move in January. Allegedly, Leverkusen do not want to sell the 23-year-old mid-season, having quoted 100 million in brackets 88.5 million pounds to interested clubs in the summer. He's contracted until 2025. He has 8 caps for France and missed out on a World Cup squad, people. So we'll have to see, really and truly. I'm not really the biggest of fans of his, but I do like what he can bring to the table. He is relatively ball-footed. He has the capacity to score goals. He is quite ineffective off the left, though, in comparison to the right. Now, Saka is there. He definitely could push Saka for an option. And you need to be taught how to play on the left-hand side. And you could argue we more need someone whose strengths is on the right wing than the left, because the left is quite open season. If Eddie Nketiah's form is out of this world, you can play Jesus on the right, but you could slot Jesus in off the left. Obviously, you've got Smith Rowe when fit. That was his spot. You've got Martinelli now coming into the fray. There's not really that sort of thing on the right-hand side, really. You've got Fabio Vieira, who, as great as he is, his strengths are more central. He's never gonna eclipse Saka in that role, because that's not him. So you could argue that. And obviously Rafinha, who was linked with in the summer, is quite ineffective off the left. So one wonders. I personally believe you need to be able to play both. You can have your strengths, you can have your preference, but I find it very hard to accept professional footballers cannot perform on either side. I remember people said Saka can't be a right winger, which is crazy. But this article's gone on to say, people, Arsenal clearly want to bolster their front line this January, and the position where they need the most attention is the right wing. Competition and backup are needed for Bukayo Saka, who was overused last season as Arsenal dropped out of the Champions League places at the end of the campaign. This season, again, he has barely been given a rest by Mikel Arteta, as there's not much behind him in terms of cover. Obviously, Marquinhos is not ready. Fabio Vieira has played off the right, but he's a central base player. The RB shares plenty of characteristics with Saka, which many feel like this interest in the Bayern Leverkusen winger is to help support the England attacker. The two-footed Frenchman, a bit of an exaggeration really, that has created the most chances via carrying the ball, 29 in the Bundesliga this season, while his simpler statistics are promising as well. Only Bayern Munich's Thomas Muller has more assists and big chances created in German's top flight since the start of last season. Then the RB is certainly good company, people. So we'll have to see exactly what's going to happen, people. As far as Leverkusen season has gone, it's not gone to plan. They're in the Champions League and finished third in the group and are now in the Europa League. They're currently 12th in the Bundesliga, 9 points off top four. So they're trying to achieve whatever they're trying to achieve. So it's going to be difficult. I wonder if Arsenal formalize this interest and go with a big bid that Leverkusen will be able to resist or not. We've also been linked with Rafinha. We hear that he's not interested. Where DRB is concerned, we might face competition from Newcastle. Newcastle make fresh inquiry for Bayern Leverkusen star Moussa Diaby, when they did in the summer, with the Magpies long-term admirers of the Frenchman, while Arsenal are also keeping tabs after obviously missing out on Mudryk. Newcastle have made a fresh inquiry for Bayern Leverkusen star Moussa Diaby. They are long-term admirers of the French winger, but have previously been put off by Leverkusen's demand. However, they remain keen to be kept informed of developments regarding Diaby, who is also on Arsenal's radar, people. So we'll have to see. Shout out Xabi Alonso. As I said, they find themselves 12th. He's contracted until 2025, people. So if anything, they could afford to sell him in the summer. They're also hoping to raise money from sales. So the prospect of them having to cash in on one of their most valuable assets, if they are unable to offload some of their unwanted players, cannot be entirely ruled out with 2 weeks of the window remaining. So we'll have to see, people. Once again, he's played 146 times for the German side with 43 goals and 41 assists to match, really. So we'll have to see what's going on in that regard. Dharma Chef of Sky Sports has said Arsenal have made initial contact with Bayern Leverkusen over Moussa Diaby. Leverkusen do not want to sell mid-season. Leverkusen were quoting 100 million to interested clubs in the summer, people. Read into that what you want. Again, Sky Sports Germany have said Bayern Leverkusen forward Moussa Diaby is a topic at Arsenal. The 23-year-old Frenchman is still under contract with the Bundesliga side until 2025, so it should be an expensive deal. We've also been linked with Ivan Fresneda, and it seems like links with us, Real Madrid, Man United, Newcastle United have intensified. Arsenal's interest most concrete in Fresneda. Newcastle's priority is Malo Gusto of Lyon. Arsenal's idea would be the player to join in the summer. If he plays a couple of games, I think his release clause jumps from 13 million odd euros to 30. So surely it would make sense Arsenal spending that money, letting him stay at Valladolid for now, because he's only really just scratching the surface, and then join us in the summer, which if you're Brook Norton Coffee, that's another young player. You're 19, he's 18, and he's clearly better than you because he's playing in the top division. That further harms your pathway, especially when you've got Tommy Yasu who can play all across the back three, and obviously Benjamin White, who we spent 50 million on, who long term, I still think he'll make the jump back over to centre back, but can do both of them. So it is what it is. If he's got the potential, obviously same country as Arteta, playing in La Liga, former Real Madrid prospect, 18 years of age, scope to grow with what we're doing, I'm all for it, really and truly. To make it happen. Arsenal allegedly will not make a move for a toss-up. We'll look at that in a second. Understand that for the RB, Arsenal, there isn't nothing concrete at this moment. It's possible this winter, but no great chance. Leverkusen asked for about 80 to 100 million, which they're fully within their rights to do such, people. I'm sure you've seen emerging reports, people, initially that Fulham are talking about personal terms for Cedric Suarez, and Fulham are closing in on signing him, and they're hoping to reach an agreement by the end of the week for the 31-year-old former Portuguese international. It's Wednesday. We're approaching the end of the week. We're at the midpoint. Arsenal and Fulham are continuing talks over a deal for Cedric Suarez. Fulham hope to have an agreement for the 31-year-old by the end of the week. Arsenal are keen to sell Cedric, given he's largely surplus to requirements at the Emirates, with Benjamin White and Tomiyasu preferred options. He has just one Premier League appearance to his name, coming on as a substitute. His only start this season came in the Cat Yarabal defeat to Brighton, people. Fulham are looking at alternatives should they fail to agree personal terms with I think they mean main target Suarez, their people. They've also been linked with Max Aarons. Bloody hell. Now the Evening Standard reports that Suarez, who is nothing more than a bit part player at Arsenal, is risking a switch to Fulham due to his 65 million, man, definitely not 65 million, 65,000 wage demands. This is the wage he's on in North London, but Fulham are reportedly reluctant to match that should he head south. It makes sense. You know, I understand why Fulham want to put that, because he's 31. You're going to find it harder to move him on. I can't begrudge Cedric as well at 31 years of age. Bro, 65 bags a week is nice. Your career is short in this thing. So I can't begrudge him for not wanting to, but there's got to be a compromise. And this needs to be a lesson where you look at the Pablo Maris, the Cedric Suarez, Aubameyang's new deal at the time. Sometimes it can be costly to do these things, especially when you put these guys on big wages, you struggle to move them on, which Cedric didn't work out at the club, did he? Arsenal plot move for West Ham captain Declan Rice as confidence of a summer deal grows. All this confidence stuff. You know, I'm never confident until I see people holding shirts. But Arsenal are planning a summer move for West Ham midfielder Declan Rice and are growing in confidence that a deal can be done. As you know, while there is an option of another year in his contract, he is contracted until 2024 and he has rejected allegedly 3 offers to stay in East London. Chelsea, Man City, Manchester United have all previously registered an interest in the midfielder, with Chelsea initially exploring a potential transfer in the summer of 2020. There's some reports that say Chelsea have moved away from that, with them looking at Bellingham, Enzo Fernandez and all of this, but Chelsea are like that spoiled kid who's in the sweet shop. Mum, is, you know, if you're lucky enough for your mum to take you to a toy shop or a sweet shop, you know, you just get one thing and decide quickly what you want before they change their mind. Sounds like he can have it. Chelsea can, you know, there's a spoiled kid that can have everything really and truly. So I wouldn't rule that out. And I do think there is a project we could sell to him, and there is a chance of getting Declan Rice, but I just feel he's still, you know, unfinished business at Chelsea. Best friend Mason Mount's there. They're in a transitional period. It is what it is, people. He's still quoted at 80 million. This is probably the last time the last summer coming that they'll be able to sell him. Rice's contract contains a 1-year option, but the London Stadium Chiefs believe this summer is their last chance to earn a sizable fee for the midfielder. Arsenal's ambitions to acquire Rice makes it possible that they'll once again go head to head with Chelsea for signings, as with João Felix and Mudryk. And how did that work, really and truly? So we'll have to see how that develops. Romano said, I'm told that nothing will be decided for Declan Rice, also because the player is not leaving in January as things stand. But for sure, Arsenal have an interest, as has been reported, and they discussed Declan internally. He's appreciated by many clubs, including Chelsea, but again, it will take time to see where Declan will go. No discussions have taken place on the player's side yet. Apparently, he could be available for 80 million. At 23, it makes sense. Going back to the Fresneda thing, people, Arsenal face competition from Newcastle and 2 others for transfer of Spanish wonder kid. Arsenal are among the transfer suitors for Real Valladolid youngster Ivan Fresneda, along with Newcastle United, Borussia Dortmund and Juventus. And he's also been linked with Liverpool and Man United, according to whatever reports you look at, people. So we'll have to see how this one develops. Arsenal, Juventus, Romano said Arsenal, Juventus, Dortmund and Newcastle have been monitoring Fresneda. By the moment, there's no official bid on Valladolid's table. There are clubs in the race. The feeling is that it will take some days to understand who's going to sign the super talented 2004-born right back, people. Allegedly, once again, Cedric Suarez is keeping it moving, as you can see there, people. And it's best for all parties that he does exactly that, because it's just not going to happen. Chelsea are already willing to listen to Raheem Sterling transfer offers. I mean, his wages, the fact that they're going to want to at least make their 50 million, the fact that he signed a 5-year deal with an option of another one, you know, I mean, there'll be a London aspect. He's worked with Arteta. He could play up front as well as off the left. You know, he's of the right age, a bit different from the profile we had. I wouldn't be against Raheem Sterling, but Chelsea are not going to do us any favours after getting involved with Mudryk and João Felix. And you'd imagine once Chelsea flush out these players, you know, they could have some decent options in Nkunku, Sterling, Havertz, asterisk next to João Felix. You know, if Mudryk really has this potential, we'll have to see what's going on there, really. So allegedly, they're willing to let him go. I'm not too sure if that's the case. Stop playing in right wing, you'll see a better player in it. I'm not too sure that's the case. Allegedly, Arsenal are in talks over Roma's Nicolo Zaniolo. Now, I don't believe anything that links us with players out of Italy, Milinkovic-Savic, Locatelli, Vlahovic. We've been down this block a lot of times. Now, for what it's worth, I would not mind Zaniolo. The ability to score goals, very cultured footballer, etc., etc. Obviously, he's had 2 ACL injuries, so that's going to take a big bulk out of you. And to my knowledge, you know, when we was linked with him a few months ago, wasn't it Roma want to get him to sign a new deal? So maybe that's where this link comes from. But Arsenal are reportedly in the race to sign Zaniolo and could formulate a proposal for the 23-year-old attacker, people. After losing out on Mudryk, Zaniolo has become Arsenal's primary objective for the January window. Apparently, Arteta is a fan of his and considers him a good addition to the squad for the remainder of the season. Apparently, intermediaries are at work to send the Italian winger to England on loan with the possibility of signing him on a permanent basis for 30 to 40 million euros. Zaniolo seems willing to consider this option as he's grown frustrated with the unresolved contractual situation with Roma. So that's probably where it comes from here. Again, this journalist said Zaniolo could leave Roma as early as January. Contacts in progress with Arsenal. Divorce is possible. His loan between 30 to 40 million. The club does not want a loan, only a dry transfer. So we'd have to see, but it just sounds like worse, people. Zaniolo's going through a complicated period with Roma between whistle, stress, fever, and his contract. He claims 4.5 million, including bonuses, to extend. Without him on the pitch, his team has scored 70% of their goals, whatever that means. Again, we've previously been linked with reaching out to Ferran Torres and Rafinha. We've heard both players have no interest in not necessarily joining Arsenal, but departing Barcelona. But from what it's worth, allegedly, we've made contact. When you scroll down this article, people, apparently we've explored the opportunity to sign Leandro Trossard, and Arsenal are also among the sides to be monitoring Napoli sensation KK, who has been made unavailable. You know, Napoli crashed out of the cup the other day, but they're targeting the Italian division, the Italian Scudetto, the Serie A. They're still doing whatever they're doing in Europe. They've just signed him. They've got an appreciating asset. They're difficult to do business with. Everybody, Arsenal have kind of showed their hand with the fee we was willing to pay for Mudryk. So for me to get a conversation, you've got to go to 100 million or maybe just like over. And you never hear me advocate these sort of things, but I think it'll fully be worth it for what it's worth. But as I always say, the dream is free, the hustle is sold separately. Further on with Ferran Torres, apparently, Jones of Give Me Sports said the same might be true for Ferran Torres, but I'd say the difference there might be the fact that Ferran knows that Arsenal have wanted him for some time now, which suggests that he would fit well into what they're trying to build under Mikel Arteta. So that one could prove interesting still. I mean, it could do, but who knows? And in terms of keeping players at the club, people, allegedly Arsenal plan to step up talks with William Saliba's reps next week as they look to agree a new long-term contract with the 21-year-old, sources have told ESPN. As you know, Arsenal triggered an option to extend his existing agreement in 2024, but are keen on securing the future of one of the most exciting defensive prospects in the Premier League. Sources have told ESPN that Arsenal's last contract offer was rejected by Saliba, and there remains a significant difference between the player's demands and the club's current proposal. I mean, Saliba gave an interview the other week how his agent is talking to Arsenal and he wants to stay. However, there is a willingness to extend on all sides, and the club remain confident an agreement can be reached with Saliba's agent due in London for talks next week. He did say in the aftermath of our 2-0 victory in the North London derby against Tottenham, "I'm so happy here. The club is speaking with my agent and me. The only thing I can do is focus on my football. I'm so happy here." Facts. There's not much more he can do beyond that, really and truly. A Belgian journalist has said, "I saw a lot of messages on my DM about this, so I'll answer to all the people that are interested on the news. Leandro Trossard is indeed part of the targets watching by Arsenal for this winter, but he is not a priority for Arsenal." Once again, apparently Sky Sports have said Brighton will only sell the Belgium international if the price valuation is met, with Tottenham monitoring the situation. Tottenham, who allegedly offered a verbal proposal of 12 million quid. Trossard, whose agent and co are doing all they can to bust out people. Apparently, the midfielder's agent released a statement last Friday in which he made clear transfer away from the South Coast this month would be the best solution for the player. Trossard had spent the week training alone and has been absent from the last 2 matchday squads. I mean, downing tools is not something Mikel Arteta is going to want to see. De Zerbi said the door is still open for a reconciliation with the player, people, and he does have an option of another deal. So we'll have to see exactly how that one there develops, people. But again, depending on where you read, apparently update on Arsenal potentially signing Trossard after offer submitted. Arsenal are not planning to join Tottenham in the chase for unsettled Brighton star Leandro Trossard. So that's probably that, people. Sources have told Football Insider that the Gunners are not looking at making a move for the Brighton Stars. They line up alternative targets. So we'll have to see exactly what's going on. He would have been an okay stopgap, but yeah. Apparently, for those of you that dream chase and want to look at Rafa Leao, apparently AC Milan are pushing to get Rafa Leao's new contract done and sealed as soon as possible. New round of talks expected in the next days with the player's lawyer in Milano. Milan are now offering more than 7 million net salary per season, add-ons included. So it looks like him and Benassi will sign new deals. Arsenal and Manchester United have been linked with a summer move for Victor Osimhen, people. Not too sure if that's going to be something, the 24-year-old. I'm not really convinced. I think he's a quality player, but I'm not rating him as highly as other people. But as reported by a Spanish outlet, whoever, so a Spanish outlet is talking about a player of Nigerian heritage playing in Italy, about what 2 English clubs want to do in the market. I mean, football is universal, but it's not like it's local Naples media or things like that. So we have to see, people. Both teams, you could make a case, need another striker. More so Man United, in my opinion, because if Jesus is fit, we're all right. But yeah, man. And we've chased him since he was 17 years of age, people. He said, I spoke with Arsene Wenger after the tournament, in brackets, under-17 World Cup ended, and he wanted me to come to Arsenal. I had a lot of options: Barcelona, Inter Milan, Atletico Madrid, Juventus, and the rest. Arsenal was a good option, but it wasn't the best at the time. I wanted to start playing as soon as I turned 18, and that's been backed up because 24 years of age, you're playing a main role in your team trying to win a league title. He's currently valued at 120 million. So I'm not too sure to believe any of that people will commit 120 million. I think we're more likely to spend the bag on a winger. If we can do something up, up front that makes sense, I think we will. Obviously, again, Arsenal signing Ferran Torres in January could happen. I mean, very conflicting reports, really. He's a player who Arsenal have liked for a long time, even before he left City. Mikel Arteta knows this boy well. I think he's a perfect fit for Arsenal. I really do. Of all the players linked, I think Ferran Torres, under the radar, could be a sensational pickup for Arsenal. I mean, he can play all across the front three. Keep an eye on this. This one could happen. It's got chances. Barca could loan him. So, yeah, I think Ferran Torres could be the one that Arsenal turn to. Didn't he get homesick initially and move over to Spain? So, listen, if you're not with this, there's no point, really and truly. Again, Fernando Torres reveals contact with Arsenal regarding transfer. We have gone over this. He said, Orlando City confirmed to me that there was contact with Arsenal, but then I left for the World Cup, and I didn't want to hear about a potential transfer at that point. So the conversation stayed there. But now that I'm back with the team, we'll see where the conversation goes. I would love to play in Europe. It's a dream I've had since I was a kid. At the moment, I am focused on Orlando City, but La Liga or the Premier League would be my main targets, and that's where the rumors are coming from. But yeah, I would absolutely love that. So again, you'd have to read into that what you read into it, people. But if that regards, there isn't anything more to say. We've spoken about Saliba's talks over a new contract. We've gone over Moussa Diaby and several other things, people. Please let me know your opinion. Smash the like button, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, stay safe, stay blessed. Any other transfer news that comes out, obviously, I'll be out there to get some videos and all those things out for you. Check out the playlist. I'm out.